week 7 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few wide receivers I looked at off the wire this week. The first guy, Rashid Shaheed of the New Orleans Saints. He's been a deep threat for the Saint team this season, and a guy who's pretty much been all or nothing, I know, for the most part. But like I said, he's been a deep threat. He stretches the field. We know Derek Carr's got a pretty strong arm, and he likes going deep a few times per game. So Shaheed coming off a good game at Houston. 2 catches, 85 yards with a touchdown in that ball game, and even 18 rushing yards. So he's a speedster. They use him in some gadget formations as well. And early in the season, he had 19, then 10, 3-0 in the last 3 weeks before the Week 6 breakout. He had some bad games, but right now with a good matchup Thursday Night Football, usually a high-scoring game, and the Saint offense trying to spread it out a little bit more and stretch the field. Shaheed's available in tons of fantasy leagues right now in 78%, and I would give him an ad this week. The next wide receiver is Tyler Boyd of the Cincinnati Bengals. I know the Bengals, they're going on bye, and Boyd's out there in 52% of fantasy leagues, but Boyd's starting to get things going a little bit over the last 2 weeks. Week 5 at Arizona, 6 catches, 39 yards. In Week 6 versus the Seahawks, 7 catches, 38 yards, and he found the end zone. So right now, Tyler Boyd, he's been a reliable wide receiver for many seasons for the Cincinnati Bengal team. And like I said, he goes on bye, and then they got a matchup with the San Francisco 49ers in Week 8. So right now, they line up a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. Joe Mixon, we really haven't seen much out of him this season, and it's a pass-first offense. And now Joe Burrow should get almost close to 100% healthy, or obviously the healthiest he's been all season now after this Week 7 bye. So right now, I'm sure Tyler Boyd, he's going to be dropped in more leagues as the week goes on. People have to get players to fill in for some of their buys. So right now, Boyd definitely a wide receiver to add this week. The next receiver is Curtis Samuel of the Washington Commanders. He's pretty much the number 2 guy over there at the wide receiver position. Jahan Dotson, it's been a struggle this season and a disappointment. In the last 3 weeks here, Curtis Samuel playing great football. 18, Week 4, Philadelphia, big game. A rushing touchdown with 1 yard, 7 catches, 51 yards. Week 5 versus the Bears, 6 catches, 65 yards a touch. And Week 6 at Atlanta, 4 catches, 42 yards and a touchdown. So 3 games in a row for Curtis Samuel with a touchdown. Available in tons of fantasy leagues, even though that might run out after this. Curtis Samuel only out there in 66% of fantasy leagues. So he's a good wide receiver. They use him in some gadget and motion plays as well in the offense here. And Sam Howell has good confidence in him. So with a good matchup coming up in Week 7 in the New York Giant team that's got a young secondary, and we really don't stop anyone. Even though we saw versus the Buffalo Bills, they showed some life in that ball game early on. He's definitely a wide receiver I looked at this week. The next receiver is Josh Downs of the Indianapolis Colts. So Josh Downs, over the last few weeks, this rookie's emerged in this Colts passing game. And him and Gardner Minshew's had a good rapport this season so far in the few games we've seen Minshew. And right now, he's finding the end zone as well is down. So the last few games for him, Week 4 versus the Rams was a down game. 2 catches, 34 yards. Week 5 versus Tennessee, 6 catches, 97 yards. And Week 6 at Jacksonville, 5 catches, 21 yards and a touch. I know Week 7, tough matchup versus the Cleveland Browns. That pretty much shut down a great offense with the San Francisco 49ers, even though we know Deebo Samuel and McCaffrey got hurt in that game. So right now, playing good football over the last few weeks. Definitely a guy in deeper leagues, Josh Downs, available in 67% of fantasy leagues. And like I said, he's a player going out there making plays, and clearly the number 2 wide receiver over there in Indianapolis, a team that's going to be a trailing a lot this season behind Michael Pittman. So right now, Josh Downs, definitely one of the better ads this week off the wide. Next receiver is another rookie, Rashee Rice of the Kansas City Chiefs. So Rice out there in 55% of fantasy leagues. And I mentioned this a decent amount in my videos. If one wide receiver is going to emerge over there for this Kansas City Chiefs team, it's going to be Rashee Rice, in my opinion. In the last 3 out of 4 games, he's had double-digit fantasy days in PPR leagues. In the last 2 weeks, definitely stepping up. Week 5 in Minnesota, 4 catches, 33 yards a touch. And Week 6 versus Denver, 4 catches, 72 yards. So Week 7, a good matchup. Back home at Arrowhead versus division foe, the Los Angeles Chargers, that give up the 3rd most fantasy points and one of the worst secondaries in the league. So right now, Rashee Rice, he's emerging. Mahomes having more confidence in the rookie, no doubt about it, over the last few weeks. And like I said, this is possibly the last time owners have a chance to go out there and get him while he's available right now still in 55% of fantasy leagues. And the final wide receiver I looked at off the wire this week's Kendrick Bourne of the New England Patriots. So the Patriots, they actually look all right and like a team that can move the football a little bit, even though they lost once again 21-17 in Week 6 of Vegas. But a monster game for Kendrick Bourne, 10 catches, 89 yards on 11 targets. So we know he's a good route runner. We know he works a lot underneath routes here, Kendrick Bourne. And they needed some quick slants and quick routes here to get the ball out of Mac Jones' hands. So Bourne, Week 1, had a monster game, 24-40. And then he hasn't done much here to the Week 6 game in PPR, 10 for 89. So right now, tough matchup, no doubt about it, coming up versus the Buffalo Bills here in Week 7. But it's a game where the Patriots going to be trailing early and often, obviously. And they're going to have to throw the football a ton. So right now, Bourne, I know there's going to be a lot of inconsistencies, but if you need help in deeper leagues more than anything at wide receiver, he's available in 83% of fantasy leagues. That's a few wide receivers I looked at off the wire in Week 7 of the fantasy football season.